Just 3 minutes ago, something major started happening in airports across the United States. It's fast, it's coordinated, and it's unlike anything we've seen before in recent memory. ICE flights have taken off, and they're not stopping. Let's break down what's happening. The flights are real, and they've already taken off. It began quietly. No major press conference, no dramatic headlines, just a few photos shared online by government officials. But behind those still images was a major shift in how the United States is now handling immigration enforcement. On Friday, the White House officially confirmed what many had been suspecting all week. Deportation flights have started. The images, posted by Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, showed individuals being led onto military aircraft under the supervision of Customs and Border Protection agents. The photos weren't taken at some remote military base. One was snapped at Tucson International Airport in Arizona. Another was from Biggs Army Airfield in El Paso, Texas. The destination? Guatemala. But this wasn't a one-time flight. That same night, two Department of Defense aircraft conducted repatriation flights. Inside them were undocumented individuals with final deportation orders. Many had been detained in recent days as enforcement operations escalated. These weren't commercial flights. These were C-17 Globemaster III military jets, massive aircraft typically used in military logistics, now being used to deport migrants. A defense official confirmed that these were part of a new mission. And that mission, according to the administration, is simple: remove people as fast as possible. A message from the top. Press Secretary Leavitt didn't mince words. In her official statement on social media, she declared that President Trump was sending a strong and clear message to the entire world. If you illegally enter the United States of America, you will face severe consequences. And it's not just talk. Just 4 days into this new phase of enforcement, the Trump administration has already begun coordinating large-scale removals from airports in Texas, Arizona, California, and Louisiana. Flights are scheduled, people are being moved, and the message is being enforced not just with words, but with action. Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who represents a district along the southern border, said his region has been ground zero for the crisis, and now it's become ground zero for mass deportation operations. In his words, in 4 days, President Trump has done more to protect our country than Biden did in 4 years inside the operation. So how exactly is this all working? The backbone of this mission is something called ICE Air Operations. It's a lesser-known branch of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement that handles air transport for removals. These are not commercial flights. They are chartered aircraft contracted through private aviation companies, operating on tight schedules, and secured with protocols similar to military missions. On board are individuals who've already received final deportation orders. Some were detained during workplace raids, others were picked up after traffic stops or during scheduled appearances in court. Some have been in detention for months, while others were removed from their homes just days ago. And here's what's new: the speed. The average time between arrest and deportation has dropped sharply. According to Homeland Security figures, over 215,000 people have been deported since January. In June alone, ICE averaged more than 6,000 deportations per week. But just this past week, that number jumped again with over 1,200 individuals deported by air in a matter of 72 hours. Much of this acceleration comes from new tools. ICE is now using real-time surveillance, mobile fingerprint scanners, and an advanced AI system called Falcon to locate and process individuals faster than ever before. With fewer appeals and streamlined procedures, deportations are happening with barely any public attention, and that's the point. Quiet airports, busy planes across the country from Tucson to El Paso, late-night lights flicker on runways. Transport vans arrive under armed escort. People are ushered onto planes with water bottles and plastic bags of belongings. In some cases, deportees are moved in the dead of night between midnight and 5 a.m. The reason? To avoid public disruption, to avoid protests, to avoid attention. These overnight removal transfers have increased dramatically. By the time most of the country is waking up, another flight has taken off. Another set of families separated, another wave of individuals vanished into a legal system that's moving faster than ever. And it's not just the border states seeing this activity anymore. New hotspots emerge. While states like Texas, Arizona, and California remain key launch points for deportation flights, ICE's strategy is spreading inland. In Charlotte, North Carolina, courthouse arrests have surged. People showing up for civil matters like custody hearings or traffic citations have found themselves detained and processed for deportation. In Baltimore, Maryland, ICE has ramped up detainer requests in local jails. Some of the individuals flagged have no violent criminal records, just unpaid court fees or minor offenses like driving without a license. These arrests often lead straight to deportation flights. In Newark, New Jersey, ICE agents recently raided a fish market and detained several workers, one of whom was a military veteran. The raid sparked outrage, especially when local officials revealed that the agents never presented a warrant. The city's mayor called it an egregious act and a violation of the Fourth Amendment. But this is now part of the broader strategy, a strategy that doesn't just focus on the southern border, but reaches into neighborhoods, job sites, courthouses, and even public transit hubs, the Falcon system and the fast track funnel. One of the biggest changes behind the scenes is the use of technology. ICE is now using an AI-driven system called Falcon. This database integrates real-time data from police, DMV records, federal alerts, and even past visa overstay notices. With this network, ICE can flag, locate, and track people far more efficiently than before. What that means in practice is fewer delays, fewer appeals, and more deportations under what's called expedited removal. In this system, if someone can't prove they've lived in the US for a long period of time, they can be deported without ever going before an immigration judge. And even asylum seekers with pending cases are not always spared. If their paperwork is incomplete or their presence deemed unlawful by DHS, they can be placed into the same rapid deportation process. This shift in strategy is why people are being deported not just faster, but in greater numbers and from places previously considered safe. A broader enforcement agenda behind the scenes, this isn't response from federal agencies has been cold. The removals are legal, and they are going to continue. Local officials in sanctuary cities have pushed back. Mayors in San Francisco, Boston, and Philadelphia have condemned courthouse arrests and early morning raids. They argue that these tactics erode trust and damage local relationships between law enforcement and immigrant communities. But the administration's position remains clear. The time for exceptions is over. Due process concerns. As deportation operations intensify, immigration attorneys have raised major concerns about due process. Many individuals are being deported before they can obtain legal representation. Others aren't fully informed of their rights or are unable to contact family before being placed on a flight. Some are moved so quickly that even their lawyers don't know they've been transferred. In these fast-track removals, legal hearings are bypassed entirely, especially when individuals fail to provide documentation proving years-long presence in the U.S. This has raised alarms not just from advocacy groups but from legal experts who say this process violates basic constitutional protections. But supporters of the administration argue that these are necessary steps. They believe years of lenient enforcement created an environment where laws were ignored and that restoring the rule of law requires bold, decisive action. A divided nation, watching the skies. Across the country, the atmosphere is tense. For some, these flights are a long-awaited return to law and order. For others, they're a terrifying reminder that no one is safe, not even those who've quietly lived, worked, and contributed to American communities for years. In conservative towns, many residents welcome the crackdown. They say it addresses illegal labor, restores public safety, and protects national resources. In immigrant-heavy cities, however, the mood is one of fear and heartbreak. Families are bracing for knocks at the door, schools are reporting declining attendance, and some neighborhoods have fallen silent with people too afraid to even go outside. What we are witnessing isn't just a change in immigration enforcement, it's a nationwide shift in the very definition of presence and belonging in America. Deportation jets are moving again, and for now, they aren't slowing down.